Baby found 3 German shepherds buried under cement rubble. What he did next had everyone crying. The faint sound caught 5-year-old Ethan's attention like a whisper in the wind. He stopped in his tracks, his small head tilting to one side, sandy brown hair falling across his curious eyes. What happened next would break hearts across the entire town. Ethan wasn't supposed to be playing near the demolished building site at the edge of Pineville. His father, Jake, had warned him countless times to stay away from dangerous places. But Ethan's curiosity always got the better of him, especially on days like today, when his dad worked late shifts at the local factory. "Just 5 minutes," Ethan whispered to himself, kicking at loose pebbles with his scuffed red sneakers. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the rubble, creating mysterious shapes that beckoned to his imagination. The construction site had once been an old community center, now reduced to nothing but concrete chunks and twisted metal. Yellow caution tape fluttered in the breeze, a warning Ethan chose to ignore as he ducked underneath it. That's when he heard it again, a sound so faint he almost thought he'd imagined it. A whimper, then another. Ethan's heart raced as he moved closer to a pile of cement chunks. "Hello?" His small voice trembled slightly as he called out. No human voice answered back, but the whimpering grew slightly louder. His tiny fingers began moving smaller pieces of concrete, his eyes widening when he spotted a patch of fur beneath the rubble. Not just any fur, the distinctive coat of a German shepherd. As he cleared away more debris, Ethan gasped. There wasn't just one dog, there were 3 German shepherds, barely visible beneath the heavy cement pieces, their bodies pressed together as if trying to protect one another. One of the dogs, the largest one, lifted its head slightly, dark eyes meeting Ethan's. The connection was instant, a silent plea that pierced the boy's heart. "It's okay," Ethan whispered, his voice catching. "I'll help you." The largest dog tried to move, but whimpered in pain. The others barely stirred. Ethan's small hands trembled as he realized how badly hurt they were. Their fur was matted with dirt and what looked like dried blood. One had a visible gash across its side. All 3 were breathing shallowly, their ribs showing through their once proud coats. Tears sprung to Ethan's eyes. Who would do this? How could someone bury dogs under concrete and leave them to die? But Ethan knew he couldn't move the heavy pieces by himself. His father wouldn't be home for hours, and calling 911 might get him in trouble for being at the construction site. Besides, what if someone else came and did something bad to the dogs before help arrived? Ethan made a split-second decision. "I'll be right back," he promised the dogs, his voice steady despite the tears on his cheeks. "Don't be scared." The largest dog's eyes followed him as Ethan backed away, his little heart pounding against his ribs. As he turned to run, a cold realization washed over him. He wasn't supposed to be here, and he didn't know who to trust with this secret. What if the same person who hurt the dogs came back? For a moment, he froze, conflicted. Then he remembered his neighbor, Mrs. Wilkins, always feeding stray cats behind her house. She might help. Ethan ran as fast as his small legs could carry him, his lungs burning as he sprinted through side streets and cut across the park. When he finally reached Mrs. Wilkins' small blue house, he pounded on the door, gasping for breath. The door opened to reveal not Mrs. Wilkins, but her father, who had recently moved in, Mr. Thompson, a tall, stern-looking man with silver hair and perpetually furrowed brows. Most kids in the neighborhood avoided him, whispering that he was mean and cranky. "What do you want, boy?" Mr. Thompson asked, his voice gruff. "If you're selling something—" "Dogs," Ethan blurted out between gasps. 3 dogs, buried, construction site. They're hurt bad. Mr. Thompson's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "Slow down. What dogs?" Ethan's words tumbled out in a rush. "German shepherds, under concrete. They're barely breathing. Please help. I can't lift the heavy pieces." Something flickered in Mr. Thompson's eyes, a shadow of pain, quickly masked. "You shouldn't be at that construction site. It's dangerous." "Please," Ethan begged, tears streaming down his face now. "They'll die if we don't help them." Mr. Thompson stared at the boy for what felt like an eternity. Then, without a word, he grabbed a set of keys from a hook by the door and stepped outside. "Show me," he said simply. They walked quickly, Ethan practically jogging to keep up with Mr. Thompson's long strides. The old man said nothing, but Ethan noticed how his jaw clenched tight. his hands curled into fists inside his pockets. When they reached the construction site, Mr. Thompson raised the caution tape for Ethan to duck under, then followed himself. His eyes scanned the area with a practiced intensity that made Ethan wonder about the old man's past. There, Ethan pointed to the pile of concrete where the dogs lay trapped. Mr. Thompson approached cautiously, kneeling despite the obvious pain it caused his knees. When he saw the dogs, his face transformed, the hardness melting away into something Ethan couldn't quite name. Grief? Rage? Both? "My God," Mr. Thompson whispered. Then, with surprising gentleness, he reached toward the visible dog. "Easy, boy. We're here to help." The dog's tail twitched weakly, the smallest gesture of trust. Mr. Thompson turned to Ethan, his voice suddenly commanding. "I need you to go to my truck. The red toolbox in the back. Bring it here." Ethan ran to the faded blue pickup parked on the street, struggling with the heavy toolbox, but managing to drag it back to where Mr. Thompson now carefully assessed the situation. Working methodically, Mr. Thompson used a crowbar to lift the heavier pieces, while instructing Ethan how to safely remove smaller debris. The old man's hands, weathered and calloused, moved with surprising dexterity, occasionally pausing to comfort the dogs with soft murmurs. "Someone did this deliberately," Mr. Thompson said, his voice tight with controlled anger as they worked. "These chunks are positioned too precisely to be an accident." Ethan felt sick at the thought. Who would hurt dogs on purpose? "There are cruel people in this world, son," Mr. Thompson replied, then fell silent as they focused on the rescue. It took nearly 40 minutes to free all 3 dogs completely. The largest one, a male with a distinctive white patch on his chest, seemed in the best condition, though he had a deep cut along his flank. The second, slightly smaller male had a badly injured paw and possibly broken ribs. The third, a female, was the worst off, barely conscious with labored breathing. Mr. Thompson checked each one carefully, his movements betraying a familiarity with these animals that surprised Ethan. "We need to get them proper care," Mr. Thompson said finally, "but we can't take them to the local vet." "Why not?" Ethan asked, confused. Mr. Thompson's eyes narrowed as he examined the dogs' collars. "Their tags have been deliberately scratched out. Someone went to a lot of trouble to hide who these dogs belong to." He pointed to marks on the metal tags that looked like they'd been attacked with a knife or file. "That's weird," Ethan whispered. "Yes," Mr. Thompson agreed grimly. "It is." They carefully moved the dogs to Mr. Thompson's truck, creating a makeshift bed from an old blanket kept behind the seat. The largest dog, despite his injuries, seemed protective of the others, growling weakly when they were separated too far. "It's like they're a family," Ethan observed, gently stroking the big dog's head. "Or a unit," Mr. Thompson said cryptically. "These aren't just any German shepherds." Ethan was about to ask what he meant when he noticed a car driving slowly past the construction site. The driver, a man in dark sunglasses, seemed to be watching them intently. Mr. Thompson noticed too. "Get in the truck," he ordered quietly. "Now." Ethan climbed into the passenger seat, heart racing as Mr. Thompson started the engine. As they pulled away, Ethan glanced in the side mirror and saw the strange car beginning to turn around. "Mr. Thompson," he said nervously, "that car is following us." The old man checked his rearview mirror, his expression darkening. "Hold on," he said, making a sudden turn down a narrow side street. 2 more quick turns followed until the car was no longer visible behind them. "Who was that?" Ethan asked, his voice small. "I don't know," Mr. Thompson replied, but something in his tone made Ethan wonder if that was entirely true. "But I think we need to be careful about who knows we have these dogs." They drove in tense silence until they reached the outskirts of town, pulling up to a small building set back from the road. A weathered sign read, "Green's Animal Clinic." "Doctor?" "Green's an old friend," Mr. Thompson explained as he parked behind the building. "He won't ask too many questions." The door opened before they could knock, revealing a man about Mr. Thompson's age with kind eyes and a worried expression. "James," he greeted Mr. Thompson, "your call sounded urgent." "It is, Henry," Mr. Thompson replied. "We've got 3 injured German shepherds in need of immediate care, and we need to keep it quiet." Dr. Green's eyes flicked to Ethan, then back to Mr. Thompson with an unspoken question. "The boy found them," Mr. Thompson explained, "buried under concrete at the old community center demolition site." Dr. Green's expression hardened. "Bring them in." Together, they carefully carried the dogs inside to a clean examination room. Dr. Green worked quickly, checking vitals and hooking up IV fluids while Mr. Thompson assisted with practiced ease that surprised Ethan. "Were you a vet too?" Ethan asked. A small, sad smile touched Mr. Thompson's lips. "Number. But I worked with dogs like these for many years." Dr. Green looked up sharply at that comment, exchanging a meaningful glance with Mr. Thompson. "What's special about these dogs?" Ethan pressed, feeling like the adults were keeping secrets. Before either could answer, the female dog suddenly seized, her body going rigid. Dr. Green moved with lightning speed, administering an injection while Mr. Thompson held her steady. "She's been poisoned," Dr. Green said grimly as the dog's body relaxed. "Not just injured, all three probably have some level of toxicity." "Poisoned?" Ethan repeated, horrified. "Someone wanted these dogs dead," Mr. Thompson said quietly, and went to extreme lengths to make sure of it. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. He moved closer to the largest dog, who, despite his weakened state, gently licked the boy's hand. "I think he likes you," Dr. Green observed, momentarily softening. "Can I name them?" Ethan asked suddenly, "just until we find out who they really belong to?" The two men exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them. "I suppose that would be all right, Doctor," Green said carefully. Ethan pointed to the largest dog. "He's Brave," then to the middle-sized male. "He's Shadow." Finally to the female still recovering from the seizure. "And she's Luna." "Good names," Mr. Thompson said quietly. "Strong names." As Dr. Green continued treating the dogs, Ethan noticed something odd. When the veterinarian gently turned Brave's collar to check for any identifying marks, a small metal object fell out from behind the leather, landing with a distinct ping on the floor. All three of them stared at the tiny silver chip that now lay on the examination room floor. "What's that?" Ethan asked, reaching for it. Mr. Thompson's hand shot out, stopping him. "Don't touch it," he warned, his voice suddenly tense. He exchanged another loaded glance with Dr. Green. "Ethan," Mr. Thompson said carefully, "what time does your father get home from work?" 7:30, Ethan replied, suddenly remembering his dad would be worried sick if he wasn't home. "What time is it now?" "Nearly 7, Mr. Thompson said. "We should get you home." "But the dogs," Ethan protested. "We'll be safe with Dr. Green," Mr. Thompson assured him. "We can check on them tomorrow." Dr. Green picked up the mysterious chip with a pair of tweezers, placing it in a small container. "I'll keep this safe," he said meaningfully to Mr. Thompson, who nodded. As they drove Ethan home, the boy couldn't stop thinking about the dogs, the mysterious chip, and the strange car that had followed them. "Mr. Thompson," he said finally, "you know something about those dogs, don't you?" The old man was quiet for a long moment. "I have suspicions," he admitted finally, "but it's better if you don't know too much right now, Ethan. Safer for you." "Safer?" Ethan repeated, a flutter of fear in his stomach. Mr. Thompson pulled up a block from Ethan's house. "Listen to me carefully," he said, turning to face the boy. "You did a brave thing today. Those dogs would have died without you. But I need you to promise me something." "What?" Ethan asked. "Don't tell anyone about the dogs. Not your friends, not your teachers, not even your father, at least not yet." "But why?" Ethan protested. Mr. Thompson's expression was deadly serious. "Because someone went to a lot of trouble to hurt those dogs and hide their identities. Until we know who and why, anyone who knows about them could be in danger." Ethan's eyes widened. "Like in spy movies?" A grim smile touched Mr. Thompson's lips. "Something like that? Can you keep this secret just for a little while?" Ethan nodded solemnly. "I promise." "Good boy, now go straight home. I'll come by tomorrow after school to take you to see the dogs." Ethan slipped out of the truck and hurried home, his mind racing with questions. He made it just as his father's car pulled into the driveway. "Hey, buddy," Jake called, looking relieved to see his son. "Have a good day." Ethan thought about the dogs, about Brave's trusting eyes, about the mysterious chip and Mr. Thompson's warnings. "Just a normal day, Dad," he lied, the first secret he'd ever kept from his father, sitting uncomfortably in his chest. Nothing special happened at all. But as he followed his dad inside, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that his discovery had set something big in motion. something dangerous and much bigger than a 5-year-old boy should be involved in. Yet, when he thought of Brave, Shadow, and Luna, he knew he couldn't walk away. Whatever mystery surrounded those dogs, Ethan was now part of it, and somehow he knew his life would never be the same again. The next morning, Ethan could barely focus in kindergarten. Ms. Roberts had to call his name 3 times during circle time when he was lost in thought about Brave, Shadow, and Luna. "Ethan, are you with us today?" she asked, her voice gentle but concerned. "Sorry," he mumbled, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. The secret felt like it was burning inside him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Brave's trusting gaze, felt the weight of the promise he'd made to Mr. Thompson. When the final bell rang, Ethan raced outside, scanning the pickup area for Mr. Thompson's blue truck. His heart sank when he didn't see it. Had the old man forgotten? Or worse, had something happened to the dogs? "Ethan!" His father's voice cut through his thoughts. Jake was waiting by his car, waving. "Come on, buddy. I got off work early today." Ethan's stomach dropped. This wasn't part of the plan. He couldn't visit the dogs if his dad was taking him home, but he couldn't explain without breaking his promise. "Dad, He stammered, trying to think of an excuse. Then he spotted it, Mr. Thompson's truck, pulling up at the far end of the parking lot. Jake followed his gaze. "Isn't that James Thompson? What's he doing here?" Before Ethan could answer, Mr. Thompson approached them. His usual gruff expression softened into something almost friendly. "Afternoon," he greeted Jake. "You must be Ethan's father." Jake nodded, clearly confused. "Jake Miller. Do we know each other?" "James Thompson. I live down the block from Mrs. Wilkins." He extended a weathered hand, which Jake shook automatically. "Your boy has been helping me with a little project. Said he'd come by after school today." Ethan held his breath, amazed at how easily the lie rolled off Mr. Thompson's tongue. "Project?" Jake asked, looking at his son. "This is the first I'm hearing about it." Mr. Thompson chuckled. "Gardening. The boy's got a knack for it. Been helping me plant some new trees. I'm afraid my old back isn't what it used to be." Jake seemed surprised but not suspicious. "Well, that's great. But, Ethan, you should have told me. I took off early so we could go to the batting cages." "I'm sorry, Dad," Ethan said, genuinely upset at disappointing his father. "I forgot." Jake ruffled his son's hair. "No big deal. We can go tomorrow." He turned to Mr. Thompson. "But I'd like to pick him up by dinner time, if that's all right." "Absolutely," Mr. Thompson agreed. "I'll have him home by 6. As Jake drove away, Ethan looked up at Mr. Thompson. "Thanks for not telling my dad." "Sometimes secrets are necessary," Mr. Thompson said quietly. "But I don't like lying to your father. He seems like a good man." "He is," Ethan confirmed, guilt gnawing at him. "The best." "Then we'll tell him the truth," Mr. Thompson decided as they walked to his truck. "When the time is right." The drive to Dr. Green's clinic felt much longer to Ethan today. When they finally arrived, he practically jumped from the truck before it fully stopped. "Easy," Mr. Thompson cautioned. "The dogs are still recovering. They need calm." Dr. Green met them at the back entrance, his expression tired but hopeful. "They made it through the night," he reported. "The female, Luna, you called her, had another seizure, but she's stabilized now." Inside, Ethan was overjoyed to see Brave sitting up in his large kennel, alert and watching the door, as if he'd been waiting for them. When he saw Ethan, his tail thumped weakly against the blankets. "He remembers me!" Ethan exclaimed, rushing over. "Of course he does," Mr. Thompson said softly. "These dogs never forget a friend." Shadow was sleeping in the next kennel, his breathing even but shallow. Luna lay in a separate area, hooked up to an IV, her eyes closed. Her condition was clearly the most serious. "Can I pet Brave?" Ethan asked Dr. Green. The vet nodded, gently. "His wound is stitched, but he's still in pain." Ethan carefully stroked Brave's head, mindful of the bandages covering parts of his body. The dog leaned into his touch, those intelligent eyes never leaving Ethan's face. "I think he's trying to tell me something," Ethan whispered. Mr. Thompson and Dr. Green exchanged glances. "What did you find out?" Mr. Thompson asked the vet in a low voice. Dr. Green motioned them toward his office, where Ethan was surprised to see a laptop open on the desk, something he hadn't noticed yesterday in the rush to help the dogs. "The chip," Dr. Green explained, closing the door behind them. "It's a military-grade data storage device, heavily encrypted." "Military?" Ethan repeated, eyes wide. Like army dogs? Not exactly, Mr. Thompson said carefully, but close. He turned to Dr. Green. Could you access anything? The vet shook his head. Not much, but I did find this. He turned the laptop so they could see a series of numbers and letters on the screen. This code was embedded in a readable section. It's a military identification number. Mr. Thompson stared at the screen, his expression unreadable. I know this format. These aren't just any military dogs. He turned to Ethan with unexpected intensity. You said there was a car following us yesterday. Can you describe it? Ethan closed his eyes, trying to remember. Black, really clean and shiny. The man had sunglasses and a jacket, even though it was hot. Mr. Thompson's jaw tightened. We need to check the other collars. Back in the kennel area, Dr. Green carefully examined Shadow's collar, while Mr. Thompson did the same with Luna's. Both had hidden compartments similar to Brave's. 2 more chips, Dr. Green confirmed, holding up the tiny metal squares with tweezers, identical to the first. Ethan watched as the men hurried back to the office with the new chips. He stayed with Brave, who seemed increasingly agitated, whining softly and trying to stand despite his injuries. What's wrong, boy? Ethan asked, trying to soothe him. Brave's ears pricked forward, his attention fixed on the clinic's small window that faced the parking lot. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. He moved to the window, peering out cautiously. The same black car from yesterday was parked across the street. Mr. Thompson, Ethan called urgently, not taking his eyes off the vehicle. He's back. The men rushed in, Mr. Thompson immediately pulling Ethan away from the window. Did he see you? He demanded. I don't think so, Ethan said, his heart racing. The blinds were mostly closed. Dr. Green peered through a tiny gap in the blinds. He's just sitting there, watching the clinic. How did he find us? Ethan whispered. I don't know, Mr. Thompson admitted, his expression grim. But we need to move the dogs. Now. Dr. Green looked alarmed. They're not stable enough for transport, James, especially Luna. We don't have a choice, Mr. Thompson insisted. If that's who I think it is, they're not safe here. None of us are. Ethan felt fear twist in his stomach. Who is he? Instead of answering, Mr. Thompson turned to Dr. Green, is your brother's cabin still up at Miller's Creek? Dr. Green nodded slowly. No one's been there for months, but it's stocked with supplies. Emergency generator, too. Perfect, Mr. Thompson decided. You take Luna in your vehicle. The boy and I will take the other 2 in my truck. We'll use different routes, meet there in 3 hours. Ethan's eyes widened. But my dad? We'll call him from the road, Mr. Thompson assured him. Tell him you're staying at my place for dinner. By morning, we'll figure this out. Dr. Green began disconnecting Luna's 4, replacing it with a portable unit. I'll need to pack medications, bandages. 10 minutes, Mr. Thompson said firmly. That's all we can risk. They worked quickly, moving with an urgency that terrified and thrilled Ethan in equal measure. This was like the spy movies his dad never let him watch, except it was real, and somehow he was right in the middle of it. Ethan, help me with Brave, Mr. Thompson instructed. He seems to trust you most. Together, they coaxed the injured dog into a large crate in the back of Mr. Thompson's truck, covered with blankets to hide him from view. Shadow, still heavily sedated, was easier to move. Dr. Green finished preparing Luna, his medical bag bulging with supplies. I'll go first, he said. The back road, through the old mill site. If I'm followed, I'll lead them away from the cabin. Mr. Thompson nodded grimly. Be careful, Henry. You too, old friend. The men clasped hands briefly, a lifetime of unspoken history passing between them. As Dr. Green slipped out the back with Luna, Mr. Thompson turned to Ethan. We'll wait 5 minutes, then leave through the front. Walk normally to the truck. If that man is watching, we don't want to alert him. What if he follows us? Ethan asked, his voice small. Then we lose him, Mr. Thompson said simply, checking a handgun that Ethan hadn't realized he was carrying. Seeing Ethan's wide eyes, he added, just a precaution. I hope we won't need it. Those 5 minutes felt like the longest of Ethan's life. When it was time, Mr. Thompson calmly walked him out the front door, locking it behind them as if closing up for the day. They strolled to the truck unhurriedly, though Ethan's pulse raced with each step. Don't look at the car, Mr. Thompson murmured. Just get in the truck like normal. Ethan climbed into the passenger seat. fighting the urge to glance across the street. Through the side mirror, he could see the black car, its engine now running. Mr. Thompson started the truck and pulled away at a casual pace. "Is he following?" he asked, eyes on the road. Ethan checked the mirror. "Yes," he whispered. "He's pulling out now." "Hold on," Mr. Thompson said, his voice suddenly steely. Without warning, he made a sharp turn into a narrow alley, then another, emerging onto a busy street where he accelerated, weaving through traffic with surprising skill. "Call your dad," he instructed, handing Ethan a cell phone. "Tell him you'll be at my house for dinner, that I'm teaching you about gardening." Ethan's hands trembled as he dialed. When his father answered, he tried to sound normal, repeating Mr. Thompson's cover story. Jake seemed disappointed but not suspicious, making Ethan promise to be home by 8 for homework. "He believed me," Ethan reported as he hung up, guilt and exhilaration battling inside him. "Good boy," Mr. Thompson said, his eyes constantly checking the mirrors. "I think we've lost him for now." They drove in tense silence for nearly an hour, taking back roads that wound through dense forest. Occasionally, Mr. Thompson would stop, listening intently before continuing. In the back, Brave whined softly, as if sensing the danger. "Mr. Thompson," Ethan ventured finally, "what kind of dogs are they really? Why does that man want them?" The old man was quiet for so long that Ethan thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he sighed. "They're not just any German shepherds. They're specially trained military dogs, not for regular army work, for something more classified." "Like spy dogs?" Ethan asked, eyes wide. A small smile touched Mr. Thompson's lips. "Something like that. The chips in their collars probably contain sensitive information. Information some people would kill to get." Ethan shivered at the word kill. "Are you a spy too?" "No," Mr. Thompson said firmly. "Not anymore. I retired from government work a long time ago. But I recognize operations like this." He glanced at Ethan. "I never thought I'd be pulled back in, especially not by a brave little boy and 3 injured dogs." "Is that why you know so much about the dogs? Because you worked with them before?" Mr. Thompson nodded. "I trained dogs like these for 20 years. Special operations, intelligence gathering, security details. These 3, they're special. Even more highly trained than the ones I worked with." A thought suddenly struck Ethan. "Is that why you live alone? Because you were a spy?" Something like pain flashed across Mr. Thompson's face. "I had a family once, a wife, a daughter. But my work, it wasn't safe for them. After a while, it was better for us to be apart." "That's sad," Ethan said softly. "Yes," Mr. Thompson agreed, his voice rough. "It is." They lapsed into silence again until Mr. Thompson turned onto a nearly invisible dirt track that wound deeper into the forest. After bumping along for about 10 minutes, a small cabin came into view, nestled among tall pines. Dr. Green's car was already parked outside. "We made it," Mr. Thompson said, relief evident in his voice. Inside the cabin, Dr. Green had set up a makeshift veterinary station in the main room. Luna lay on a table, still unconscious but stable. The vet looked up as they entered, his expression grim. "Any trouble?" he asked. "Lost a tail," Mr. Thompson reported. "But they know about the clinic now. It won't take them long to start searching the area." They carefully brought Brave and Shadow inside, settling them on blankets near the fireplace. Despite his injuries, Brave immediately dragged himself closer to Luna, as if continuing to protect her. "Their loyalty is remarkable," Dr. Green observed, "even in this condition." "It's how they're trained," Mr. Thompson said, watching the dogs with something like respect. "They never abandon their own." While Dr. Green tended to the dogs, Mr. Thompson set about securing the cabin, checking locks and sightlines with practiced efficiency. Ethan helped where he could, bringing water for the dogs and assisting Dr. Green with changing bandages. As evening approached, Mr. Thompson prepared a simple meal from the cabin's stored supplies. They ate in relative silence, the weight of their situation hanging over them. After dinner, while Dr. Green dozed in an armchair, exhausted from the day's events, Mr. Thompson and Ethan sat by the dogs, keeping watch. "Mr. Thompson," Ethan said quietly, "what happens now?" The old man sighed, absently stroking Shadow's head. "I'm working on that. First, we need to understand what's on those chips. Then we need to find out who tried to kill these dogs and why. And then we get the dogs to the right people, people who can protect them and the information they carry. Ethan looked down at Brave, who had finally fallen into a peaceful sleep, his large head resting against the boy's leg. "Will I ever see them again after that?" Mr. Thompson's expression softened. "I don't know, son, but these dogs won't forget you. I promise you that." As darkness fell outside, the cabin grew quiet except for the occasional crackle of the fire and the soft breathing of the sleeping dogs. Ethan fought to keep his eyes open, determined to stay awake and help keep watch. Mr. Thompson noticed his struggle and smiled. "Get some rest, Ethan. I'll wake you if anything happens." Reluctantly, Ethan stretched out on the couch, Brave still leaning against him. Despite his determination to stay alert, exhaustion soon pulled him into sleep. He was awakened suddenly by Brave's low growl. Opening his eyes, Ethan saw the dog staring intently at the cabin door, ears forward, body tense despite his injuries. Mr. Thompson was already on his feet, gun in hand. Dr. Green stood frozen by the window, peering cautiously through the curtains. "Someone's out there," Dr. Green whispered, "moving through the trees." The growl in Brave's throat grew louder. Shadow, now awake, joined in, while Luna remained unconscious on her makeshift bed. "Ethan," Mr. Thompson said quietly, "go to the back room. Lock the door. Don't come out until I call for you." Fear gripped Ethan's heart, but he moved to obey. As he reached the hallway, Brave struggled to his feet, limping painfully to follow him. "Let him go with the boy," Dr. Green suggested. "He seems determined to protect him." Mr. Thompson nodded, and Ethan helped Brave down the short hallway to a small bedroom. Once inside, he locked the door as instructed, then sat on the floor beside Brave, who positioned himself between Ethan and the door despite his weakened state. "Good boy," Ethan whispered, his arms around the dog's neck. "We'll be okay." But as he heard footsteps on the cabin's porch and the sound of voices growing louder, Ethan wondered if that was a promise he could keep. "Do you think Brave can protect Ethan from what's coming? Drop your theories below." Ethan pressed his ear against the bedroom door, straining to hear what was happening. Brave remained alert beside him, a low rumble still vibrating in the dog's chest despite his injuries. The voices in the main room were muffled, but Ethan could tell there were at least two strangers speaking with Mr. Thompson and Dr. Green. Though he couldn't make out exact words, the tone sounded tense, confrontational. Suddenly there was a crash, like furniture being overturned, followed by a shout. Brave's growl deepened, his body tensing despite the obvious pain it caused him. "It's okay," Ethan whispered, trying to sound braver than he felt. "Mr. Thompson will handle it." The sound of a gunshot made Ethan jump. Brave lunged forward, scratching at the door, desperate to get out despite his injuries. The loyal dog was trying to join the fight, to protect his pack. "No, Brave!" Ethan grabbed the dog's collar, struggling to hold him back. "You're hurt! You can't help them!" More shouting. Another crash. Then silence. A silence more frightening than the chaos that preceded it. Ethan's heart hammered in his chest as he heard footsteps approaching the bedroom door. Brave positioned himself in front of the boy, hackles raised, ready to defend him despite his weakened state. A soft knock came at the door. "Ethan?" Mr. Thompson's voice, strained but steady. "It's safe. You can come out now." Still, Brave remained tense, unconvinced. Ethan hesitated. "Mr. Thompson, is that really you?" "Yes, son. The situation is under control, but we need to move quickly." Ethan unlocked the door cautiously. Brave limped forward first, sniffing the air. When he caught Mr. Thompson's scent, the dog relaxed slightly, though he remained vigilant. The scene in the main room made Ethan gasp. Furniture was overturned, a window broken. Dr. Green was pressing a cloth to a bleeding cut on his forehead. But what caught Ethan's attention most were the two men, strangers, sitting tied to chairs in the center of the room. One wore a dark suit, the other military-style clothing. Both glared at Mr. Thompson with undisguised hatred. "Who are they?" Ethan whispered. "Trouble," Mr. Thompson replied grimly. He guided Ethan away from the men, speaking quietly. "They're after the dogs and the information on those chips. They tracked us here faster than I expected." "Who sent them?" Ethan asked, eyeing the bound men. "That's what we're going to find out." Mr. Thompson turned to Dr. Green. "How's Luna?" "Stable, thankfully," the vet reported. The commotion didn't disturb her too much. Mr. Thompson nodded, then addressed the bound men. "Last chance to tell us who you're working for." The man in the suit smirked. "You're in over your head, old man. You have no idea what those dogs are carrying." "Actually, I do," Mr. Thompson replied calmly. "And I know exactly how valuable it is. What I don't know is who sent you to recover it." The military-looking man spat on the floor. "We don't answer to retirees and vets. Where's the third chip?" Mr. Thompson's expression remained neutral, but Ethan noticed his eyes narrow slightly. "What makes you think there's a third?" The men exchanged glances, and Ethan realized they'd revealed something unintentionally. "Let's try a different approach," Mr. Thompson said, taking a seat across from them. "I know those dogs were part of Operation Blacklight. I know they were carrying classified intel. What I don't know is why someone tried to bury them alive instead of using proper extraction protocols." The suited man's eyes widened slightly at the mention of Blacklight, confirming Mr. Thompson's guess. "You're not authorized," the military man began. "Authorization code November Echo Delta 719, Mr. Thompson interrupted. "Check it if you don't believe me." Something changed in the men's expressions, surprise followed by uncertainty. The suited man studied Mr. Thompson more carefully. "You're Thompson? James Thompson? Intel said you were dead." A cold smile touched Mr. Thompson's lips. "Intel was wrong. Now, who sent you?" Before either man could answer, Luna suddenly let out a pained whimper from her makeshift bed. Dr. Green rushed to her side. "She's seizing again!" While the doctor tended to Luna, Mr. Thompson kept his gun trained on the captives. Ethan moved to comfort Brave and Shadow, who were clearly distressed by Luna's condition. "She's not going to make it," the military man said flatly. "The poison was designed to be lethal." Ethan's head snapped up. "You poisoned them? Why would you hurt dogs?" The man's eyes shifted uncomfortably under the boy's accusatory stare. "Orders! Whose orders?" Mr. Thompson demanded. "Colonel Holt," the suited man blurted, earning a venomous glare from his companion. "What? The situation's compromised. Holt will know we failed when we don't report in." Mr. Thompson went very still at the mention of the name. "Victor Holt? He's running Blacklight now?" "For the past 3 years," the suited man confirmed. "After you retired." A dark expression crossed Mr. Thompson's face. Holt was always ambitious, but ordering the execution of service animals, that's a new low, even for him. "They're not just animals," the military man snapped. "They're assets, and they were compromised." "How?" Mr. Thompson demanded. The men fell silent again. Dr. Green looked up from Luna, his expression grave. "I've stabilized her, but she's weak. Whatever they used is aggressive. I need more supplies than what I have here." Mr. Thompson nodded, making a decision. "We need to move. They'll have backup coming." He glanced at his watch. "Ethan, your father will be expecting you home soon. I need to get you back." "But the dogs," Ethan protested. "Will come with us," Mr. Thompson assured him. "All of them, but first, we need information." He turned back to the captives. "What's on the chips that Holt is so desperate to recover?" The suited man hesitated, then spoke quietly. "Evidence of operations that went beyond authorized parameters. People died who weren't supposed to. Civilians." "And the dogs recorded this?" Mr. Thompson asked. "Their tactical vests had embedded cameras. Standard protocol for all Blacklight field operations now. But these 3 units captured something they shouldn't have." "What about the handlers?" Mr. Thompson's voice had a dangerous edge now. The military man looked away. "Collateral damage." Ethan saw rage flash across Mr. Thompson's face, quickly controlled. "So, Holt ordered the dogs poisoned and buried at a demolition site to cover his tracks. Clean and simple." "Until the kid found them," the suited man said, glancing at Ethan. Mr. Thompson checked his watch again. "Henry, pack whatever Luna needs. We're leaving in 5 minutes." He turned to the captives. "As for you two, you can't just leave us here," the military man protested. "Watch me," Mr. Thompson replied coldly. "Local rangers will find you eventually, if you're lucky." The next few minutes were a blur of activity as they loaded the dogs into the vehicles. Luna's condition required doctor. Green to ride with her in the back of his car, monitoring her constantly. Shadow went with them, while Brave, still protective of Ethan, came in Mr. Thompson's truck. As they prepared to leave, Mr. Thompson handed Ethan a small metal object, one of the chips from the dog's collars. "Keep this safe," he instructed. "Don't let anyone see it." "Why me?" Ethan asked, confused. "Because no one would expect a child to be carrying it," Mr. Thompson explained. "And because I trust you." The words filled Ethan with unexpected pride. He carefully tucked the chip into his sock, where it pressed against his ankle. They left the cabin under the cover of darkness, taking a different route than the one they had arrived on. Mr. Thompson drove in tense silence, constantly checking his mirrors for signs of pursuit. "Mr. Thompson," Ethan ventured after a while, "those men said people died. Bad things happened. Is that what's on the chips?" The old man sighed heavily. "It sounds like it. Colonel Holt always pushed boundaries, but if he's crossed the line into illegal operations, this evidence could destroy him. That's why he's so desperate to recover it. Will the dogs be safe once we get the chips to the right people?" Mr. Thompson's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I'll make sure of it." They drove through the night, eventually reaching the outskirts of town near dawn. Mr. Thompson pulled over on a quiet street a few blocks from Ethan's house. "Your father will be worried sick," he said grimly. "We're hours past when I said I'd have you home." Guilt washed over Ethan. He'd been so caught up in the adventure that he'd almost forgotten about his dad. What do we tell him? The truth, Mr. Thompson decided, or at least part of it. He needs to know you're involved in something dangerous, for his own protection. Brave whined softly from the back seat, sensing Ethan's distress. "What about Brave?" Ethan asked, reaching back to stroke the dog's head. "He comes with us," Mr. Thompson said. "All 3 dogs need to stay hidden until I can contact people I trust, people who can protect them and use the evidence properly." As they approached Ethan's house, they saw Jake pacing on the front porch, phone in hand. When he spotted the truck, he ran down the steps, his face a mask of fear and anger. "Ethan!" he shouted as the boy climbed out. "Where have you been?" "I've been calling the police, searching everywhere." "Dad, I'm sorry," Ethan began, tears filling his eyes at the sight of his father's distress. Mr. Thompson stepped out of the truck. "Mr. Miller, this is my fault. I need to explain, but not out here. Is it all right if we go inside?" Jake looked like he wanted to punch the old man, but instead nodded curtly, wrapping a protective arm around Ethan as they walked inside. Once in the living room, Mr. Thompson told a carefully edited version of events, finding injured dogs, taking them to a vet, discovering they were special military animals that someone was trying to harm. He left out the gunfire, the chips, and the bound men at the cabin, but made it clear that the situation was serious. "So, you kept my son out all night, in potential danger, without calling me?" Jake's voice was tight with controlled fury. "I made a judgment call," Mr. Thompson admitted. "The wrong one, clearly. I should have brought him home and explained this to you immediately. I apologize." Jake ran a hand through his hair, trying to process everything. "And these dangerous people? They might come looking for the dogs here?" "It's possible," Mr. Thompson confirmed. "Which is why I think you and Ethan should come with me, just for a few days, until I can get the dogs somewhere safe. Leave our home, our lives, because of some dogs?" Jake looked incredulous. "Dad," Ethan said quietly, "Brave saved me. When those men came to the cabin, he was ready to protect me even though he's hurt. They're special dogs. And they have proof of bad things that happened." Jake looked from his son to Mr. Thompson, conflict evident on his face. "You're sure we're in danger if we stay?" "I can't guarantee your safety here," Mr. Thompson said honestly. "Not when Colonel Holt realizes his men failed to recover the dogs." A long silence followed as Jake considered their options. Finally, he nodded. "We'll need to pack some things. Where are we going?" "I have a place," Mr. Thompson said. "Off the grid. We'll rendezvous with Doctor, Green, and the other dogs there." While Jake packed essentials for himself and Ethan, Mr. Thompson brought Brave inside. The dog, despite his injuries, immediately began a cautious inspection of the house, limping from room to room as if checking for threats. "He's still protecting us?" Ethan observed, watching the dog with admiration. "That's what he was trained for," Mr. Thompson replied. "These aren't ordinary military dogs, Ethan. They're specifically bred and trained for intelligence operations. Their ability to assess situations, remember faces, even understand complex commands goes beyond what most people think dogs are capable of." Brave returned to Ethan's side, leaning against the boy's leg in what seemed like reassurance. Jake returned with 2 small bags. "This is crazy," he muttered, "running from our home because of military dogs." "Not just dogs," Mr. Thompson corrected. "Evidence. Evidence that could bring down powerful people who've done terrible things." They loaded into Mr. Thompson's truck, Brave sitting protectively between Ethan and Jake in the back seat. As they pulled away from the house, Ethan noticed a black SUV slowly turning onto their street. "Mr. Thompson," he said urgently, "I think they found us." The old man checked his mirror, his expression darkening. "Hold on." He accelerated suddenly, taking a sharp turn that threw them against their seatbelts. The SUV sped up, clearly in pursuit. "What the hell?" Jake exclaimed, instinctively pulling Ethan closer to him. "Colonel Holt's men," Mr. Thompson explained grimly, executing another sharp turn. "They move fast," Brave growled, his attention fixed on the vehicle behind them. What followed was a tense chase through the early morning streets. Mr. Thompson drove with remarkable skill, using back alleys and side streets to try to lose their pursuers. But the black SUV stayed with them, gradually closing the distance. "They're getting closer," Jake warned, looking back. Mr. Thompson's face was set in grim determination. "There's a service road up ahead that cuts through the state forest. If we can reach it, we might lose them in the trees." As they approached the turnoff, the SUV suddenly accelerated, pulling alongside them. Ethan caught a glimpse of the driver, a hard-faced man with cold eyes who looked directly at him before swerving toward their truck. The impact sent them skidding toward the ditch. Mr. Thompson fought the wheel, barely keeping them on the road. Brave barked furiously, his protective instincts in full force despite his weakened state. "Hold on!" Mr. Thompson shouted as he made a desperate turn onto the service road. The truck bounced violently on the uneven surface, branches scraping against the windows as they plunged into the dense forest. The SUV followed, but its larger size made navigating the narrow track more difficult. Mr. Thompson pressed this advantage, pushing the truck faster despite the dangerous conditions. "There's a ranger station about 2 miles in," he told them. "If we can reach it—" He never finished the sentence. A deafening crack split the air as a bullet shattered the back window. Jake threw himself over Ethan, shielding his son with his body. "They're shooting at us!" he yelled in disbelief. "Told you Holt was desperate," Mr. Thompson replied, his voice unnaturally calm as he swerved to make them a harder target. Brave's barking turned to snarls, the injured dog somehow finding strength in the crisis. When another shot came, narrowly missing Jake's shoulder, Brave lunged into the back of the truck, positioning himself in the broken window, directly in the line of fire. "Brave, no!" Ethan cried, reaching for the dog. The next bullet didn't miss. Brave yelped in pain as it struck him, but he held his position, a living shield between the gunman and the humans he was protecting. "He's been hit!" Ethan sobbed, seeing blood darkening the dog's already bandaged body. The ranger station appeared ahead, a small wooden building with a radio antenna on top. Mr. Thompson skidded to a stop beside it, throwing open his door. "Inside! Now!" he ordered, pulling his own gun from his jacket. Jake carried Ethan, running toward the building, while Mr. Thompson provided covering fire. Brave, despite his new wound, limped after them, refusing to abandon his protective duty. They burst into the station, finding it empty but equipped with a radio and first aid supplies. Mr. Thompson barricaded the door behind them, while Jake searched for something to treat Brave's wound. "How badly is he hurt?" Ethan asked tearfully, kneeling beside the brave dog. Jake examined the injury with gentle hands. "The bullet grazed his shoulder. It's bleeding, but I don't think it hit anything vital." Outside, they could hear car doors slamming, footsteps approaching. "3 of them, at least," Mr. Thompson reported, peering through a window. He turned to Jake. "There's a basement access behind the counter. Take Ethan and Brave down there." "What about you?" Jake demanded. "I'll hold them off," Mr. Thompson said simply. "Buy you time to escape through the basement's emergency exit. It leads to a trail that will take you to the highway." "You'll be killed," Jake protested. A small, sad smile touched Mr. Thompson's lips. "Maybe. But those dogs revealed the truth about Holt's operations for a reason. That truth deserves to come out." He looked at Ethan. "The chip, son. Keep it safe. Get it to the authorities." Before Ethan could respond, the windows exploded inward as the attackers opened fire. Mr. Thompson pushed them toward the counter. "Go!" Now, Jake lifted the counter's access panel, revealing a narrow staircase. He helped Brave down first, then Ethan, taking one last look at Mr. Thompson, who had positioned himself by the window, gun ready. "Thank you," Jake said simply. Mr. Thompson nodded. "Get my dogs to safety, all of them." As they descended into the basement, the sound of gunfire erupted above them. Ethan clutched Brave's collar, tears streaming down his face as he realized Mr. Thompson was sacrificing himself for them, for the truth. The basement emergency exit led to a narrow tunnel that emerged in the forest 50 yards from the station. As they stumbled out into the morning light, the gunfire behind them suddenly intensified, then stopped altogether, leaving an eerie silence. "Is Mr. Thompson ... Ethan couldn't finish the question. Jake pulled his son close. "I don't know, buddy, but we need to keep moving. For him, for Brave." The injured dog limped alongside them, his loyalty unwavering despite his wounds. The chip pressed against Ethan's ankle with each step, a small object carrying a heavy burden of truth. As they made their way through the forest, a single gunshot echoed in the distance, making them freeze momentarily. Then silence again. "Dad," Ethan whispered, his voice breaking. "I'm scared." Jake squeezed his son's shoulder. "I know, but Mr. Thompson trusted us with something important. We can't let him down." Brave suddenly lifted his head, ears alert. A moment later, they heard it too, the distant sound of vehicles on what must be the highway. "That's our way out," Jake said, picking up the pace despite Brave's injuries slowing them down. But as they approached the tree line, Ethan spotted something that made his blood run cold. A tall man in a military uniform stood watching the forest from beside a parked Jeep on the highway. Even from a distance, his calculating eyes and rigid posture radiated authority and menace. "Dad," Ethan whispered, "I think that's him. Colonel Holt. Would Mr. Thompson survive? Can anyone stop the ruthless Colonel Holt? Tell us what you think happens next." Jake pulled Ethan back into the cover of the trees, his heart racing. "Are you sure that's him?" he whispered, eyeing the military man by the Jeep. "I don't know," Ethan admitted, "but he looks important, and mean." Brave growled softly, his eyes fixed on the distant figure. Even injured and weakened, the dog's instincts remained sharp, and he clearly sensed danger. "We can't risk it," Jake decided, scanning their surroundings. There must be another way to the highway. They retreated deeper into the forest, moving parallel to the road, but staying hidden among the trees. Brave limped alongside them, his breathing labored but determined. Fresh blood stained his bandages, a testament to his newest wound received while protecting Ethan. "Dad," Ethan said quietly as they walked, "Brave needs a doctor. He's hurt really bad." Jake looked down at the dog with newfound respect. Just hours ago, he'd thought of Brave as just an animal, a reason they'd been dragged into danger. Now, seeing the dog's unwavering loyalty despite his injuries, Jake understood why his son had risked so much to save him. "We'll get him help," Jake promised, "as soon as we're safe." They continued for nearly an hour, the sound of the highway growing fainter as they were forced to detour around steep ravines and dense underbrush. Ethan's steps grew slower, exhaustion from the long night and emotional stress taking its toll. "Need a break, buddy?" Jake asked, noticing his son's fatigue. Ethan shook his head stubbornly. "Brave isn't stopping, neither am I." But moments later, Brave suddenly halted, his ears perked forward. A low warning growl rumbled in his chest. "Someone's coming," Jake whispered, pulling Ethan behind a large tree. Through the foliage, they spotted two men in tactical gear moving through the forest, weapons ready. Colonel Holt's men, searching for them. Jake's mind raced. They couldn't outrun them, not with Ethan's exhaustion and Brave's injuries. Fighting wasn't an option either. They were trapped. "Ethan," he whispered, making a desperate decision. "Give me the chip." His son's eyes widened. "But Mr. Thompson said..." "I know, but those men are looking for it. If they find us, they'll search you first thing." Jake held out his hand. "Trust me, son?" Reluctantly, Ethan pulled the tiny metal chip from his sock and handed it to his father. Jake quickly tucked it into a small tear in Brave's bandage, hiding it within the blood-soaked gauze. The dog watched him with intelligent eyes, as if understanding the importance of what Jake had just done. "If we get separated," Jake whispered to Ethan, "follow Brave. He'll protect you." The search team was getting closer. Jake could hear their footsteps now, the crackle of their radios. "We need a distraction," he murmured, looking around desperately. As if in answer, the forest suddenly erupted with the sound of gunfire, not close to them, but in the direction of the ranger station. The search team immediately changed direction, heading toward the commotion. "That's our chance," Jake said, grabbing Ethan's hand. "Run!" They moved as quickly as Brave's injuries would allow, heading away from the gunfire and search team. After several minutes of frantic movement, they stumbled upon an unexpected sight, a dirt road with an old pickup truck parked alongside it. "Stay hidden," Jake ordered, approaching the vehicle cautiously. The truck appeared abandoned, its driver's door hanging open. Keys dangled from the ignition. A half-eaten sandwich on the seat suggested its owner had left in a hurry, perhaps a park ranger responding to the commotion at the station. "It's our lucky day," Jake muttered, gesturing for Ethan and Brave to come quickly. They climbed in, Brave settling painfully in the back seat. Jake started the engine, wincing at how loud it sounded in the quiet forest. "Hold on," he told Ethan as he accelerated down the dirt road. "This might get bumpy." The road eventually connected to a paved county highway. Not the main road where they'd seen Colonel Holt, but a smaller route that might let them avoid the military blockades likely being established. "Where are we going, Dad?" Ethan asked, his small face etched with worry. Jake realized he had no idea. They couldn't go home. That would be the first place Holt's men would look. They needed somewhere safe, somewhere to regroup and get help for Brave. "Dr. Green," he said suddenly, remembering the veterinarian. "Mr. Thompson said they were meeting at another location. Did he ever mention where?" Ethan scrunched his face in concentration. "He said something about a farm, his sister's farm, I think, but I don't know where it is." "We'll find it," Jake assured him, though he had no idea how. They drove in tense silence for nearly 20 minutes before Jake spotted a small gas station ahead. "We need to make a call, find out where Dr. Green is, and Brave needs water and first aid supplies." The elderly clerk behind the counter barely glanced up as they entered, too engrossed in his newspaper to notice Brave's condition or their disheveled appearance. Jake purchased bandages, antiseptic, bottled water, and food while Ethan used the restroom. "Phone's out back," the clerk mumbled when Jake asked, pointing to an ancient payphone near the bathrooms. Jake dialed the number for Dr. Green's clinic, praying someone would answer despite the early hour. After several rings, a tired female voice answered. "Green Veterinary Clinic. This is Jake Miller," he said urgently. "I need to reach Dr. Green. It's an emergency regarding 3 German shepherds." A long pause followed. Then, "Hold one moment, please." The line clicked several times before Dr. Green himself came on. "Mr. Miller, where are you? Is Ethan safe?" Relief flooded through Jake. "Yes, he's with me, and Brave, but we're in trouble. Mr. Thompson? He stayed behind at a ranger station. There was gunfire." "Dear God," Dr. Green murmured. "And the other dogs?" "I don't know. We got separated. Brave is injured again. He took a bullet protecting us." Jake's voice cracked slightly. "We need somewhere safe. Ethan mentioned your sister's farm?" "Yes, that's where I am now with Shadow and Luna. Take Highway 16 north, then Route 43 east for about 12 miles. Look for a red mailbox shaped like a barn, turn there, and follow the dirt road to the end." Jake committed the directions to memory. "We'll be there as soon as possible, but we might be followed." "I understand, Doctor," Green said grimly. "We'll be ready." As they returned to the truck with their supplies, Jake noticed Ethan had gone very quiet, his face pale and drawn. "You okay, buddy?" he asked, helping Brave into the back seat. "What if Mr. Thompson is dead?" Ethan whispered, tears filling his eyes. "He stayed behind because of us." Jake pulled his son into a tight hug. "Mr. Thompson made his own choice, Ethan, a brave choice. The best way to honor that is to make sure what he fought for wasn't in vain." They cleaned and rebandaged Brave's wounds as best they could before continuing their journey. The dog accepted their amateur ministrations with stoic patience, his intelligent eyes never leaving Ethan's face. Following Dr. Green's directions, they eventually found the red barn-shaped mailbox and turned onto a long dirt driveway that wound through fields of corn toward a distant farmhouse. Dr. Green himself came out to meet them as they pulled up, relief evident on his tired face. "Thank God you made it," he said, helping Brave from the truck. "Come inside quickly." The farmhouse was a large 2-story structure, with peeling white paint and a wraparound porch. Inside, they found a woman in her 60s, Dr. Green's sister, Martha, preparing food in the kitchen while Shadow and Luna rested on blankets in the living room. Luna looked marginally better than when Ethan had last seen her, though still hooked to an IV. Shadow rose shakily when they entered, approaching Brave with clear concern, sniffing his new injuries. The dogs seem to understand everything that's happening, Martha observed, bringing coffee for Jake and hot chocolate for Ethan. Never seen anything like it. They're special, Dr. Green explained as he examined Brave's gunshot wound. Military training beyond anything civilian dogs receive. And they're in danger because of what they saw, Jake added, accepting the steaming mug gratefully. What they recorded. Dr. Green nodded grimly. The chips contain video footage from their tactical vests. According to what you've told me, it shows Colonel Holt's unit engaging in unauthorized operations. Civilian casualties. War crimes, Martha said bluntly, her weathered face hardening. My husband was military for 30 years. He always said Holt was dangerous, ambitious, without morals. We have one chip, Jake revealed, carefully extracting it from Brave's bandage. Mr. Thompson gave it to Ethan for safekeeping. Dr. Green took the tiny device, examining it carefully. This could bring Holt down, but only if we can get it to the right people Holt doesn't control. Who can we trust? Jake asked. Before Dr. Green could answer, the sound of tires on gravel made them all freeze. Martha moved swiftly to the window, peering through the curtains. Black SUV, she reported, her voice steady despite the danger. 2 men getting out, military types. How did they find us? Jake whispered, instinctively moving toward Ethan. Doesn't matter now, Martha said, reaching into a cabinet and pulling out a shotgun. Henry, get them to the cellar. Dr. Green led Jake, Ethan, and the dogs through the kitchen to a heavy door. Beyond it, steep stairs descended into darkness. The cellar has a tunnel, he explained hastily. Prohibition era. It comes out in the old barn about a quarter-mile away. You're not coming? Jake asked as Ethan helped the dogs down the stairs. Can't leave my sister, Dr. Green said simply. Besides, they might just be looking for directions. No reason to think they know you're here. The doubt in his voice was clear, but Jake nodded, respecting the man's decision to stand by his family. Thank you for everything. Get the chip to safety, Dr. Green replied. It's what James would want. The cellar door closed behind them, plunging them into darkness broken only by the beam of a flashlight Dr. Green had pressed into Jake's hand. They made their way carefully through a space that smelled of earth and old preserves, the 3 dogs moving with them despite their injuries. Dad, Ethan whispered, I hear voices upstairs. Jake strained to listen. The sound was muffled, but he could make out Martha's firm denial that she'd seen anyone matching their description, followed by male voices growing increasingly insistent.